Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are celebrating a victory Wednesday as the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Jets by an impressive score in a very impressive game. We got quite a bit to talk about during that game. And we also have another great game coming up this weekend against the Carolina Panthers. So first of all, thank you guys for joining. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. I see the views are starting to grow fairly quickly. So thank you everybody who's joining us over at the DC4L group. I appreciate you guys joining us, and I see that our X followers are consistently getting larger. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Before we get started, got to do a little bit of housekeeping, as you all know. So first of all, for those of you watching from X, whenever you get a chance, make sure you go over to Facebook, find the DC4L page. That is DC4L. Great, great Facebook group, safe space for Cowboys fans to talk and engage. A lot of great prizes, a lot of great giveaways. If you don't have access to the game, they provide you with a method to watch the game live. And if that fills up, there's always a consistent dialogue to keep you up to date with all the news and notes during a game as well as throughout the week. So for those of you watching from X, make sure you go over to the DC4L page. Also, for you guys joining us from Facebook, DC4L also has a YouTube channel. So for all of you watching, make sure you go to DC4L on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, also hit that bell. And while you're there, you can find me at Bluff City Cowboys. Hit that subscribe button as well. Help me to get my followers up. I see we got a couple people in the comments joining us from YouTube. So we got DJ Dog joining us, a longtime regular. Appreciate you tuning in. I love that saying, let it flow. We're going to talk about our player of the week. So you're already kind of giving us an insight on who that player will be. And then we got another longtime follower, Jeffrey Dunnigan, one of my close friends joining us. Jeff, thank you for tuning in also. I see my YouTube channel starting to grow pretty quick. So for those of you who just joined on YouTube, make sure you get in the comments. Let us know who you are. This is an interactive show that is fueled by Fifth Quarter and Dallas Cowboys Nation. So get in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're from, how long you've been a Cowboys fan, and get involved in the dialogue. Any questions or comments that you may have that we've talked about, be sure to get in and let us know your thoughts. All right, we got Special Potion, another regular to the show. Thank you for joining us as well. And again, for those of you watching on Facebook, make sure you get in the comments. I see we got Lee Harrison who just joined us. Appreciate you tuning in. And for those of you watching from X, whenever you get a chance, Facebook and YouTube are wide open. So we would definitely appreciate if you guys on X would join us on one of those channels so that you can get in the comments and let us know your thoughts on the topics that we're discussing. And if you do join us from X, please let me know in the comments that you are here from X so that I can just kind of have an idea of who's trickling over and I can give you a shout out. So let's go ahead. Let's kick the show off. Let's do a game recap from last week's game against the New York Jets. So let's kick the show off first with this game recap. Looks like my screen's kind of freezing right now, so I can't do the nice video, but we'll go ahead and hit that game recap anyway. So as you guys know, the Cowboys beat the Jets by a score of 37-22. By the way, if you watched the game, and I know all of you did, that score was definitely not as close as it looked in terms of the final number. It was a full domination throughout the game. I see we got Jordan Crawford joining us from DC4L Facebook group. Looks like a new name, so thank you for joining us and thank you for leaving a comment. This game was dominated from pretty much beginning to end. A lot of injuries to overcome. 4/5 of the offensive line. 2 starting receivers, starting linebacker got hurt during the game, starting safety missed the game, um, lost another safety in and out, cornerback got hurt during the game. It was a it was a mass unit of players out there, and despite all that, this may have been one of our best games of the year. And DJ Dog making a comment, Terrence Steele won the offensive lineman survivor contest, and we still won. Got to give Clayton Adams, Riley, and Shoddy a ton of credit, getting 4 backups in sync. Yeah, and we talk about this on the show all the time. This is a regular thought process when it comes to offensive line continuity. If your offensive line is not on the same page, it can lead to disaster. So the fact that we had 4 new linemen who basically were thrown in 1 week to practice together, with 3 of the 5 were, and they came together, gave up the fewest amount of pressures that they've given up all year against a very good, and don't let the record fool you. The Jets defensively are a very good team. They're not losing because of defense. This is a very good front seven. Despite all that, didn't give up any sacks, lowest amount of pressures given up all season, and almost hit 40 points at their house, by the way. So the Cowboys had to travel, 7, 8 hours to New York and had a very impressive game all around. So let's go into it really quick. I'll give you guys a few of my offensive and defensive notes that I marked as I watched the game. We'll start with offense first. Ryan Flournoy definitely separated himself from the pack. I know going into that game, I don't know if you guys are. You may have been a little bit more optimistic than I am, but I had some serious concerns about where this offense would come from. We know Sauce Gardner is a lockdown corner. We knew he would be traveling with George Pickens all game. We knew Turpin was out. Of course, Lamb was out. Where was the offense going to come from? We couldn't rely on Jake Ferguson to be the guy to carry us. And Ryan Flournoy answered the call with 6 catches, 114 yards. Showed a lot of what we as Cowboys fans saw when we drafted him 2 years ago, and it was great to finally see all of it come together. He's without a doubt separated himself from that pack of the wide receivers behind Turpin, Pickens, and Lamb. And speaking forward on that, Nathan Thomas, another late round draft pick from last year, missed the entire season because of an injury, missed a lot of the preseason as well. Came in and had a very impressive game. He gave up 3 pressures, so I don't want to say it was perfect, but considering second year guy, missed a lot of training camp, basically thrown into the fire against a very good defense. He only gave up 3 pressures, gave up no sacks. Outside of those 3 pressures in the run game, he was dominant. I pointed this out to my friend Jeff watching the game live, that if you go back and watch the all 22, there were some points where they were running the ball where the defensive end was actually running away from him. Like he was avoiding contact with Nathan Thomas because he's just that physical and that mean of a player. So when you got a team like this and you're running the ball consistently, Nathan Thomas can definitely be an asset. He does have some liabilities athletically that will show up on 3rd and long situations. And that's basically where those 3 pressures came from. All 3 of them were the rare 3rd and long scenarios we were in. And he kind of got beat with a speed rush. But outside of that, a great game by Nathan Thomas. Again, he may be our best tackle at this point. He's definitely deserving of another week, regardless of Tyler Guyton's situation. Number 3, Shoddy's play calling was flawless. I know preseason, a lot of fans were kind of upset we didn't get the coach for the Bears, or we didn't get one of these Niners guys, and we want to see an offense that's creative and that keeps the ball moving and that's explosive. And a lot of us felt like looking at Shotty's history, he couldn't provide that. This game was him pretty much stamping himself as a true great offensive play caller. You also, like Jeff said, you got to give Clayton Adams a shout out as well for getting that O line together and being the offensive coordinator. But this was Shotty's play calling. He said it in the press conference. Um, he's taking control. If they fail, it's on him. If they win, it's on him. He says he knows it's difficult being an offensive coordinator and not getting an opportunity to call the plays because he went through that with McCarthy. But he said he has to go down with his ship. And so far, that ship is afloat, and that ship is the leader of the pack. I didn't see any wasted motions. I didn't see any bad plays. Even the few kind of tricky plays that they tried to run, they were all ran flawlessly. Just like DJ Dog just pointed out, that Ferg screen pass was a thing of beauty. And Thomas ran across the formation to get that block. And then Flournoy made a great block as well. So just stuff like that you go back and look at where in years past, they may get a little too cute. If you watch the show, you've heard me say that almost every week 2 years ago. But Schottenheimer, all of his plays had a purpose. And pretty much all of them were successful. Last point I want to make offensively, Javonte Williams. I know there are a lot of podcasters out there who've been kind of putting their flag in the ground that the Cowboys have to make a trade for a running back, like trade for a RB1. That's kind of what I've been seeing online. Javonte Williams, to me, has silenced all of that talk. He is a true bell cow. He can give you 20 carries. He's going to give you a consistent 70 yards, and he's going to contribute 4 to 5 catches. I don't know many running backs in the NFL who can give you what Javonte Williams is giving you right now. So I keep seeing people say, let's trade for a running back. What running back is going to give you more than what Javonte Williams is giving you already? The kid is giving you some great production. The only concerns you have are injury, but you cannot live your life based off of when is this guy going to get hurt. If teams live by that philosophy, the Eagles would have never had Saquon Barkley. The Broncos right now, J.K. Dobbins is a great running back. They would have never had J.K. Dobbins. You just look around the league, and there are productive running backs who people have tried to give that injury label, and they have and are continuing to ball. And I think Javonte Williams, you got to throw him in that same category. Like for you guys to watch the show, I preached this the entire offseason. Javonte Williams, if you watched him in college, was probably the third best running back in a very good running back draft. He went to Denver, had 900 yards his first year and 30 catches for a rookie. Great rookie season. Unfortunately, year 2, he got hurt. Horrific injury, tore a bunch of ligaments. Year 3, came back, had a solid year. 600-700 yards, another 40 catches. Not setting the world on fire, but again, coming off a major injury, still was able to contribute with 40 catches for a running back. And then year 4, Sean Payton becomes the head coach. And if you've watched Sean Payton's history, he's always gotten rid of big running backs. He likes the small, shifty backs. Reggie Bush, Kamara, Darren Sproles. Now they just drafted R.J. Harvey, who's 5'8", 200 pounds. He likes those. Jaleel McLaughlin last year, who's like 5'8", 190 pounds. They basically started him over Javonte Williams. Sean Payton has a type, and that's no knock on Javonte Williams. We really got lucky with him. And like Jeff said, we should extend him now. I know a lot of people say, well, you kind of thank you, Jeff. Philip Lindsay, 5'8", 200 pounds, speed guy. I mean, the list goes on and on about Sean Payton and his love for shifty backs. I'm with you. I would extend them now. I'm not afraid of paying a running back early. Not the money that Javonte Williams would garner, but not like what we did with Zeke. Javonte Williams right now would probably be a $6 to $7 million a year running back. He's 25 years old. He should have, without any more injuries, a good 3 more years of solid production. The offensive line is only going to get better, which means he's going to only get better. And we have 2 rookie running backs in the fold who look like they could both be draft steals in another year. So you lock Williams down right now. Next year, you squeeze all the juice out of that orange, and then in year 3, you either keep them or cut them and let Maffa and Blue take over. So I'm with you. I would rather pay him now than let him continue to play off this year and get an extra dollar of value, and then we're in a bidding war, or he decides, you know what, I'm disrespected and I'm just gonna go to the Jets or the Bears, who are gonna be, I think, very high on his tail. So yeah, get him taken care of now. DJ Dog says Javonte number 2 rusher in NFL. 5 weeks in, our offense is number 1. Yeah, when you studied the zone run game last year, he has transferred to our team. It keeps you competitive in games. Yeah, all of that is true. And Javonte Williams is a perfect running back for this scheme. Has enough wiggle. Not gonna take the top off the defense, as you guys saw when he ran out of gas in that long run. But he has enough to give you a good 30, 40-yard run. He's not gonna break away for 60 yards often, but 20 to 40 yards, he'll give you that whenever you need it. And when it's 3rd and 2, he'll get you 4. If it's 1st and 10, he'll get you 5. That's the type of running back we need. That's the type of running back he is. So we said all that about the offense. Let's go ahead and take a look at this defensive side of the ball, because I do have some notes about that defensive side. I see those views are still going up. So thank you guys, everybody who's joining me from the Bluff City Cowboys YouTube page. Also, everybody who's joining me from X. I see those X numbers are still growing. Once again, those of you on X, if you get a chance, come over to YouTube, come over to Facebook, get in these comments and let me know you guys' thoughts. Jeff makes another great point. When it gets cold, no one's going to want to tackle him. We do have some cold weather games coming up late in the year. I think we go to Washington late in the year. Did we play the Giants at home, or did we go to New York when we played them? I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah. And those are going to be some big games when we play later in the year. So we'll definitely need his physical running style. And by then we'll have Booker and Smith and probably BB. So you'll be at 100% with, fingers crossed, Nathan Thomas at left tackle. And now you've got a physical offensive line in November that's looking for contact. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, you're right, Special Potion. We did play them at home. But we do have some big games coming up that are going to be in some cold weather cities. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball and look at these notes. So, the first one, if you guys watched the show 2 weeks ago, you heard me talk for 15 minutes about how unimpressed I was with Eberflus. And again, my problem with Eberflus was not with the scheme. Cover 3 is cover 3, no matter if you run it at Pop Warner, junior high, high school, junior college, NCAA, NFL. Cover 3 is cover 3. You can't blame him on the effectiveness of the scheme. Where you can blame him is the scheme is not effective and he's not making adjustments off the scheme. So 2 weeks ago, after that Packers game, when Trayvon Diggs came out and said, you know what? He didn't say it in these words exactly, but basically what he said was, I'm a man corner. I've been comfortable in a man scheme. I wish we'd run more man. And Eberflus basically came out with some political answer that said, this is my scheme. This is the way I do it, and this is the way I'm going to continue to do it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, there's going to be some animosity, and Eberflus is going to be the old man setting his ways. Lo and behold, Eberflus comes out last week, and they run about 35% of their defensive snaps in a man scheme. And if you guys watched the show 2 weeks ago, I told you that the reason the defensive line is not getting sacks because they're close. They've been close for 3 weeks. But the reason they're not getting sacks is because we've been playing this horrible zone scheme. The receivers get open so fast that the quarterback can just play pitch and catch. If we run a little bit of man to make that quarterback hold the ball for half a second, we're going to see sacks come. This week they played man, and lo and behold, the defensive line answered the call. That's point number 3. Dante Fowler, like DJ Dog said, rose from the dead. He's a pass rusher through and through. You put him in third down opportunities, he's going to make something happen. James Houston had an amazing game. Pretty much looked like the guy he was with Detroit 2 years ago. And then you look at our defensive tackles who've continued to do what they've been doing for the past month. Osa had a sack in this game. Kenny Clark was getting a lot of pressure. Let's see. William Wiggins asked the question. I think he was playing zone because he didn't trust the health of Diggs. That could be an option also. That could definitely be an option also, but he's always been a zone defensive coordinator. So I think he was kind of setting his ways, as you can see, with his personnel choices with a couple of these players. And that takes me back to point number 1. I said the first problem was he won't make adjustments. The second problem is he's stuck in his ways on certain players. And one of them is James Houston. And I like Donovan Easy. I like Nealon. Sam Williams has been up and down, but he's still a solid player when given opportunity. But James Houston deserves more snaps. Let's talk about point number 2 for a second. The injuries were a blessing in disguise. This goes back to what I just said about Eberflus not wanting to change personnel. We've seen Malik Hooker struggle in cover 3. We've seen him struggle in single high. We've seen Donovan Wilson just look completely lost when he's thrown in single high. Wanye Thomas plays free safety his first week. I don't know if you guys noticed, wasn't a lot of deep balls given up in that game. And when they did throw it deep, it looked like there were guys that were there, and it wasn't just pitch and catch like it was in years past. So we had to see an injury to see Malik Hooker get pulled, but definitely saw a lot more production. You go to the second level of the line, Jack Sanborn, you already know where I'm headed. William Wiggins hit on it. I think I saw somebody else hit on it as well. I think it was DJ Dog. Jack Sanborn finally got hurt. And what happens? 5th round rookie, Shamar James, comes in and gets 15 tackles. Now, I will say this because I'm going to touch a little bit on what DJ Dog put up there. His stats and analytics were confusing to say the least, but the kid will run and hit. Let me expound a little bit on what you said, DJ Dog, because you're 100% right. Now, he had 15 tackles, which is amazing. Don't want to take anything from him. But if you go back and really watch the game, every tackle he made was at least 8 yards down the field. So basically, every time he made a tackle, it was a first down tackle. He never made a tackle inside of 8 yards. And a lot of that was on him because they were in coverage and he was playing what's considered a middle hook. If you've watched the show, I've shown graphics, I've shown video to explain what middle hook means. That basically means the linebacker, they go 5 yards, they sit and they watch for anybody to run a curl route or a hook route, basically like a hook. So he would get back in his break and he would sit there. The quarterback would throw a quick hook route to the running back or the tight end. And just like DJ Dog said, he's right there on the tackle. So I want to give him kudos for that because he did not miss a tackle. When the guy caught the ball, he was immediately right there and made the tackle. The only problem I have is he was not close enough to actually make a play on the balls for them not to catch it. I give him a pass because this was his first game. He probably had a lot of nerves, and that's a pretty big responsibility, especially when you're playing a team like the Jets, who rely heavily on their running backs and tight ends to make plays in the passing game. I think if he gets 2 more weeks and he's able to really see the field, he'll be able to react a little bit better when guys come into his zone. A lot of his tackles were a guy was in his zone and he was afraid to kind of go up there and put a hand in or just step in and defend in general. So he waits, they throw the ball, he immediately makes the tackle. Great thing, got 15 of them, but I need to see him take the next step where he's actually making a play on the ball. So instead of having 15 tackles, now he has 8 tackles with 5 passes defensed, or just the running back doesn't have 80 yards receiving, it's more like 30. And I think that'll come because the kid is a baller. Jeff said it, Leofow calmed down a lot. Instead of trying to rip the guy's head off, he actually made a play for the ball and caused a big fumble. He had a lot of great tackles as well. He was great in coverage as always. I think we're slowly finding our linebacker rotation, but we definitely need to see more Shamar James, and we need to see a lot less of Jack Sanborn because, like somebody said, somebody made a comment about Sanborn and his lack of speed. But yeah, like Jeff said, hopefully they see Sanborn. He's the coach from the sideline. And I made a tweet about this the other day. If we cut Jack Sanborn right now, there's not a question that he would clear waivers and we can have him on the practice squad. So if you want to clear a roster spot, there's one right there, and you won't lose the player because nobody's picking him up after what we've seen the past 5 weeks. All right, we got Marty Vol joining us, another longtime regular. Appreciate you tuning in. Marty asked the question, when are Overshown and Bland coming back? Bland's actually been back the past 3 weeks. I don't know if you mean Josh Butler. Maybe that's the guy you mean. If it is Josh Butler, I would probably say you don't see either of them until week 10. Both of them had late season injuries, and you see a lot of tweets and you hear a lot of positivity from both players, but realistically, both of them have dealt with multiple knee injuries. They're not going to rush them back. I think week 10 at best. To be honest, I would probably say it's closer to week 13 before we see Overshown. Bland may be able to come back sooner, but he'll come back as our 4th corner. So you won't necessarily have to throw him in the fire. When Overshown's on the field, he has to be the guy. So you have to slow play him to make sure he's ready. But you can put Bland in. He can rotate at nickel when you want to put. You can put Butler at nickel when you want to rotate Bland outside a little bit. And if a team actually goes into a dime defense and you got to put 4 corners out there, you can throw Butler out there. So yeah, Butler may be able to come back week 9, week 10 because you can slow play him because you're also getting Carson back and you're also getting Revel back at some point. So you've got a lot of guys at the back of your roster who you have to rotate in to get some reps. You don't necessarily have to rely on one of those guys to step up and be a major contributor. But the second Overshown puts on pads and the lights are bright, he has to be on the field because he's our middle linebacker and he's going to be calling the plays. He's going to be carrying running backs down the field and he's going to be patrolling the middle. So Overshown is probably going to be a little bit longer before you see him on the field. DJ Dog, Jalen Brooks took over Flournoy's gunner role, made an impressive tackle, but also committed a special teams penalty. He was up and down. Jalen Brooks is on the practice squad, so you probably won't see him again for a while. I would be shocked if they don't start playing Tolbert at gunner. And by the way, great job pointing out, DJ Dog. You know I'm a special teams guy, and I pay close attention who they put at gunner and jammer. So that's a great catch. Marty Vol says when CD's coming back. According to the reports and the interviews and the sound bites that I've seen, I would be shocked if CD's not back within the next 2 weeks. This is turned into an injury report. Looks like everybody's asking questions about when people are coming back. I don't mind answering however the show goes. So I would probably say I would be shocked if Lamb's not playing against Washington. Even if he's not 100%, he's going to be on the field against Washington. So you got 2 weeks. Jeff asked a question about Mingo. Mingo was a full participant in practice yesterday and today. I'll leave it at that. I would be shocked if he doesn't make his Cowboys debut this Sunday. I would be surprised if a guy who's a full participant is not on the field. And that brings up an interesting question. I had the conversation in one of my group chats with a lot of knowledgeable people, and I posed the question. I'm going to pose it to you guys before we move ahead to Carolina. So Flournoy in one game has pretty much made a I'm here statement. You know what? Let me do player of the week, and then we'll go to this topic I'm about to talk about. So, of course, I'm sure as you guys can guess, Ryan Flournoy is the player of the week for this week's game. Great game all around. Give me 1 second. My screen is doing something kind of funky. I may have to come out. I'm about to leave. I'll be back in less than 30 seconds. Okay. All right. There's something going on my end. You guys can't see it. But yeah, player of the week this week, Ryan Flournoy. 6 catches, 114 yards, 2 carries for 10 yards. Disregard the rushing touchdown. That was something from an old game. But 6 catches, 114 yards, and basically his Cowboys debut with another 2 carries for 10 yards. Now, if you go back last year, Ryan Flournoy, just a great player. Super explosive, 4-4 runner, great hands, great after the catch, as you can see on this play. A strong receiver. He's going to break arm tackles. He can accelerate quickly. Look at that hands catch right there. To me, I think Flournoy is a better version of what we're going to see from Mingo, because Mingo is essentially the same guy. Mingo just can't catch with his hands. If you guys have watched Mingo and you've seen him break, like beat up DB and then drop the ball, that's because he just doesn't have great hands. Ryan Flournoy has no problem catching the ball away from his body. He has no problem using his strength to get those extra 2 or 3 yards. And he has the ability to get downfield, as you can see right here, and make a big play in the air. So Ryan Flournoy will give you everything you need. And on top of that, he's your number 3 wide receiver. So that means he's going to consistently, when CeeDee Lamb comes back, he's going to be going against the third corner. And just watching some of these plays, you see, he can give you the reverse game, just like Turpin can give you. He can give you third and shorts. He can give you deep passes. He can block well. I don't think I have the play with the I don't think I put the play in here with the Ferguson touchdown, but Flournoy was right there blocking. He was blocking just as good as the offensive lineman. So, Special Potion says Ryan is coming for Tober's spot. He's got that spot already. There's no way the Cowboys can put Flournoy back on the practice squad. He's on the roster now. Remember, before Lamb got hurt, Flournoy was a practice squad guy who came up one week, and then they brought him on the active roster after they put a player on IR. So now I'm going to pose the question I was going to ask before we I lost all my people on X. Hopefully they come back. So I'm going to post the question that I asked before I did the player of the week. In the next month, we're going to get back this is from IR. This is not guys who are hurt, who are just sitting on the bench like Turpin and Lamb. In the next month, we're going to get BB from IR. We're going to get Mingo from IR probably this week. We're going to get Phil Maffa from IR. So that's 3 offensive players that are going to be major contributors who are coming back from IR. As you guys know, when players come back from IR, you got to cut somebody to make room for them. As of right now, and this is kind of what I'm leading to with Jeff's question. Right now, we have 6 wide receivers on the roster. We have Pickens, we have Lamb, we have Turpin, we have Tolbert, we have Flournoy, and then eventually, probably as early as this week, we'll have Mingo. So we have 6 wide receivers on the roster. Where do we make a cut to bring back BB, Mingo, and who that is? Booker? Where do the cuts come from? One of them has to come from wide receiver. And that's kind of like Jeff said, when all healthy, who are our 5 wide receivers? Assume we're going to cut one. I think personally, they have to get on the call. What you say, Jack Sanborn, Jeff, but they have to cut an offensive guy. They can't cut a defensive guy to bring back an offensive guy, because on the defensive side of the ball, they have to bring back Carson. They have to bring back Revel. At some point, they're going to bring back Perrion Winfrey. So that's 3 guys on defense that and Malik Hooker. So at some point in the next month, they're going to have to find 4 spots on the defense. So we know those spots. Those are pretty easy. It's going to be one of those corners. It's going to be one of those safeties. It's probably going to be a defensive tackle. Sorry, Jay Toya. And then it's probably going to be I don't know where the 4th one's coming from. Special posting, yeah. Thomas is the guy who's playing with Hooker right now. And DJ Dog says whoever can block between Mingo or Tolbert, that would be our last wide receiver. Marty Vol says Mingo. Williams says Tolbert. If I were Dallas, I'm calling Miami. I'm calling the Jets. I'm calling the Saints. Who wants Jalen Tolbert? He's the only guy on our roster at wide receiver that we don't need that has value. He was a 3rd-round pick just 3 years ago. He put up a very good season statistically last year, 900 yards, 6 touchdowns. You can sell that to a team like Miami, who just lost Tyreek Hill and they have nobody opposite Waddle. You can sell that to the Jets, who, by the way, their their starting receiver, Garrett Wilson, has 16 catches in not 16. He has 26 catches in 5 games. The rest of their receivers total have 3. They need a wide receiver. They can't just keep throwing it to Wilson and Brees Hall and Mason Taylor, the tight end. I'm calling the Jets and saying, look, we've got a guy who had 900 yards last year. He can give you something. What do you got for us? I'm calling the Saints. The Saints traded for some no-name receiver from Denver who's done nothing. Kellen Moore still their offensive play caller. He knows Tolbert. He drafted Tolbert. What do you want to give us for him? They have to get something for Tolbert. They have to. Because you're not trading Mingo because he's shown you nothing. And the higher ups will not allow them to just let him go for free for nothing. They won't let you cut him without seeing what they got. They gave up too much to trade for him. You're not trading Turpin. Of course, you're not trading Pickens or Lamb. So you're down to Flournoy, Tolbert, and Mingo. Flournoy had a great game, but nobody's trading for him after one game. Tolbert's your only movable piece. So if I'm Dallas, they got 3 weeks to figure out who's going to give us a trade for Tolbert. That's a great point, Jeff. If they want to trade in division, they don't normally trade in division with the Giants for some reason. I don't know, but I would call the Giants. They just lost Malik Neighbors. Their other 2 receivers are pretty much nothing burgers. They got a young quarterback who needs some help. That's a great call. They don't normally trade with the Giants, so I didn't bring it up, but that's definitely a very good option. I would probably put them number 2 behind the Dolphins. But the Cowboys got 3 weeks. Phil Maffa's coming back. BB's coming back. Booker's coming back. You got to find 3 spots on your roster to get those 3 players back. They're not cutting their tight ends. And I'll make this other point, and then we'll move on. They've got 3 weeks to trade Tolbert. They've also got 3 weeks to trade Miles Sanders. Jaden Blue in limited snaps. I know he had 3 yards of carry, but he looked really good in those 3 yards. The Chargers are going to need a running back. They've got 2 bell cows on IR. The Cardinals definitely need a running back because their coach is slapping the running backs on the roster. The Cowboys got 3 weeks to make a phone call, whatever we can get for them. Even if we got to cut them, I'm okay with that because we got Maffa and Blue coming back. But if I'm Dallas, I'm definitely trading Tolbert, and I'm trying to get whatever I can from Miles Sanders. So Marty Vol said, I will not trade Sanders. Let me know in the comments why you wouldn't trade Sanders. I'm just curious to see why you wouldn't. I mean, even if I had to, I'll go to the practice squad and I'll bring up the running back's name escapes me, but the running back who had a couple of good games in the preseason. Malik. I can't even think of Malik's last name. Malik Davis. If I had to, I'll go with the 2 young guys. I'll go with Maffa and Blue. And if I need a veteran behind Javonte, I'll bring in Malik Davis for a couple of weeks off the practice squad. And then in that 3rd week, we'll see what happens. So we've got options. And Miles Sanders hadn't shown me enough to say I can't let him go. A great point, DJ Dog. Between Lepke and Span forward showing promise in blocking, Adams' run scheme has been good for good roles for both. Jeff says I know you want to outright cut Sanders, Jeff. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'm trying to get something from him first because there are too many teams that need a running back. All right, so let's put last week in the back burner. Let's pay close attention to the Tolbert. Let's have a Tolbert watch for the next 3 weeks because they have to make a move with Tolbert when guys start to get healthy, and we need to open up roster spots. So let's go ahead and let's look to, and Jeff brings up a great point with the Browns. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think the Browns care, Jeff. Like, I see that as an option, but the Browns don't care about winning right now. They don't know what they're doing at quarterback. And you got Jerry Jeudy. You've got the kid from Texas who's starting to get more burn at receiver. They've got 2 or 3 other young receivers on their roster. They got 2 great tight ends, and they still have a bunch of rookie running backs who can catch out of the backfield. I mean, if you're just looking at options, the Browns are an option, but I don't see the Browns as an option to trade for a receiver. They've got bigger fish to fry than trying to bring in a receiver. The Jets have to get a receiver because they have nothing. The Dolphins are trying to be competitive. McDaniel's trying to keep his job. He's an offensive guy. He has to make something happen. What's the other team on my list? The Saints. Kellen Moore. You got a short leash in New Orleans. You got to make something happen. The Giants actually have a quarterback they care about. They have to give him a weapon. Those will be my top 4 options. The Browns wouldn't surprise me, but I would put them at the bottom of my list as a team that needs a receiver. All right, so let's look ahead to week 6, and thank you guys who stuck with us. Thank you everybody from X who came back. I had to take a quick break to fix something on the back end, but I'm back now, and I appreciate you guys joining us. And it looks like you guys came back stronger than ever because the number who was with me before I took that short break, there's 4 times as many people joining us now. So maybe I need to do that again. But thank you guys who are joining us from X. Let's go ahead and look at this week 6 matchup. Got the Cowboys versus the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have been another up and down team. When they've looked good, they've looked really good. And when they've looked bad, they looked awful. They beat a team 30-6. They've lost 30 to. They beat a team 30-6. They've lost 30-0. So you really don't know what you get out of this team. But one thing I will say, this is a very talented young roster that we cannot take lightly. Let's look at the tail of the tape right here. The Cowboys come in at 30.2 points per game, which is top 5 in the NFL. Carolina Panthers coming in at 20.4, kind of middle of the pack. The problem with the Cowboys is their scoring defense is almost identical to their offense. Offense is top 5 in the league. Defense is bottom 5. The Panthers are not far off at 23.8 points per game. And we both have a -3 turnover differential, which means we've given up the ball 3 more times than we've taken it away. But luckily for us, I can see us going in a better trajectory on defense, and I think those defensive numbers will start to turn around starting with this week. All right, so let's go to our first segment of looking ahead, and let's look at what I've considered some of the key matchups going into this week's game.
Key matchups.
Right. Let's go ahead and start at the top. And for those of you watching, I said the Panthers are a very talented team. You're going to see a lot of guys on this list that if you follow this show and if you follow other Cowboys podcasters, you're going to see a lot of guys who people wanted to see in Dallas who end up in Carolina. So, yeah. Let's go through it. Number 1, J.C. Horn versus George Pickens. We talked about Sauce Gardner last week. Sauce Gardner is a traveling corner, which means wherever George Pickens go, Sauce Gardner is going to be right there with him. J.C. Horn is the same type of cornerback. just as aggressive, just as physical, just as athletic, just 3 inches shorter. But for those of you who were paying close attention during that 2021 draft, and I know a lot of people try to have amnesia when you bring stuff up like this, but there were a lot of podcasters who were saying the Cowboys should have taken J.C. Horn over Micah Parsons. And they were upset that the Panthers took J.C. Horn over Micah Parsons still being there. I don't want to say any names, but if you follow other podcasts, you know who they were. So J.C. Horn is a super talented cornerback. His only problem has been injuries. He was injury-free last year and was a second-team All-Pro. He's picked up where he left off at last year, and he's having a great season so far. So this is going to be a great matchup. DJ Dog makes a great point. Pickens always has a history of rising to the challenge versus top corners. Going back to Pittsburgh, I agree with you. That was one of his knocks. He was an inconsistent player when it looked like he was bored and it should have been a game where he easily dominated. He kind of took plays off, but when you put a dog in front of him, then you see the bigger dog come back and bite. And hopefully George Pickens continues that. He had the big play for a touchdown against Sauce Gardner. I almost had a second one. So this is going to be a great matchup to pay attention to. Just like Steph said, Pickens is on a mission. Yeah, a lot of people wanted Horn. Now I was one of the few who I was Micah Parsons the whole time. And not trying to toot my own horn, but I was. But J.C. Horn was right there for me. I will admit I did have J.C. Horn higher than Pat Surtain Jr. And Pat Surtain Jr. is a defensive MVP winner. So the talent is there for sure. Yeah. Him and Surtain were there right before our pick. We traded down 2 spots. Yeah. They were right there. All 3 of those guys were in the same category. So we're not talking about some scrub here. This guy can ball. Jeff has put the question up there a couple of times, so let me go ahead and address it. Can we attempt to sign Pickens long term? I'll say this. I brought up about other players in the past. This is one of those scenarios where we can try all we want, but it takes 2 to make a deal go through. George Pickens would not be smart if he signed a contract right now. And I think that's where we are. I would be surprised if we don't start to hear after the season, we start to hear reports that the Cowboys offered George Pickens $26 million during the season, and he said no. Pay attention in March. I guarantee those conversations come up. His price tag is going up every week. I agree. And that's why he won't sign. He's finally getting the opportunity to show that he's the number one. He's got a 4-week audition with CeeDee Lamb out. So I don't think he's going to sign a deal. What I will say is, and this may work in our favor, I'm a huge George Pickens fan. For you guys who followed that 2021 draft, was it 2020 or 2021? I think it was 2020. Whatever year Mozzie Smith came out. So if you followed that draft, I said the Cowboys should have drafted Pickens in the first round. Him falling to the second was a crime. And he was one of my top draft guys, so I normally follow those guys their whole career just to see how they turn out. There's going to be another guy on this list who's one of those guys. George Pickens, he hated Pittsburgh. He's from Alabama. He's not a cold weather kid. He didn't like the cold. He just looked like a malcontent on the sideline. He kind of sat by himself. If you look at him in Dallas, we don't see the shiesty mask. You actually see him smiling. He's smiling on this picture. If I were to pull up his Steelers headshot, it would look completely different. You see him making little funny gestures on the field, like pointing at guys, like I almost had you right there, stuff like that. He's interacting with the other receivers. If you watched him in Pittsburgh, he was pretty much just a man on the island by himself. If he got the ball, he looked like he was angry. If he didn't get the ball, he looked like he was angry. So I will say he looks genuinely happy as a Dallas Cowboy. Now, whether or not they will get him to sign early, I do not know. But one thing I know for certain, just like Jeff said, his price tag's going up every week. And all we can do is hope that the number doesn't go up too high that is not manageable. If I were a cap guy right now, I would probably say before the season, I would have had his cap number at about $20 to $22 million. He's a 1B guy he's a number 2 guy who could possibly be a 1B. He's shown right now he can be 1A to 1B. And I think that takes his number up to closer to 28, which again, very manageable for the Cowboys right now. If that number starts to creep up in the 30s, then we have some serious problems. But if we can get him between 22 to 28 and he would agree to that, I would take that all day. All right, let's go to our next key matchup. Again, another guy that was on my list. And you can come back 2 years from now and you can talk about this one because I was one of the guys who said I wanted Ted McMillan on this team, regardless of who was available as a draft pick, even over Booker. Ted has been a great player. There were a lot of people pre-draft who were saying that he doesn't look like he's going to translate in the NFL. And so far this season, he's giving you 24 catches for 300 yards, which average out to about 5 catches a game for 70 yards a game. Those are borderline Pro Bowl stats for a rookie. Now, he doesn't have any touchdowns yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if they start to come. And I think this week may be the first one. Hate to say it. But he's going to be going against Trayvon Diggs. I think we're going to see a lot more man again. So you're going to see 6'5" Ted against 6'3" Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon doesn't travel, but from watching the past 2 games, Ted does not move around the field a lot. So they're going to both be lined up in front of each other quite a bit. Ted does not run any drag routes. Everything he runs is a straight line. He's running comebacks. He's running post routes. He's running 9 routes. He's running back shoulder fades. So we're going to get to test Trayvon Diggs' ball skills. Ted McMillan is a 50-50 ball type receiver. Trayvon Diggs used to be one of the best when it comes to 50-50 balls. I think we're going to find out this week if he still got it. Yeah, but Jeff, I'm with you. If we could get him for 28 right now, I'm okay with that. And I know some people are going to say, well, you don't want to do that after a couple of games. If you followed him, you know the talent is there. The only problem you have with him is how is his attitude? How's his mentality? To me, he looks the happiest he's ever been. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I would take a chance and give it to him. And if it doesn't work out, you can easily trade him and get that money off the books. But yeah, these 2 matchups are going to be the biggest matchups in determining this game. But we got a couple of other ones we have to pay attention to. Let's go to the next one. On the defensive line, you've got the Brown boys. You've got Bobby Brown, a former 5th-round pick from Texas A&M. If you guys are draft heads like I am, you'll remember a lot of people wanted us to draft Bobby Brown coming out of the draft. 340 pounds. He's a freak athlete kind of guy at that position. So he's now with the Panthers. And then you pair him with the other Brown and former 1st-round pick Derek Brown, all-pro player, a one-man run defense by himself. In my opinion, the best defensive tackle in the league for me personally. So you got these two guys holding down the interior. Bobby Brown's 340, Derek Brown's 337. They're going against TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman. These are both two big, nasty players, and this is going to be a prize fight in the interior line. So if you're one of those guys who likes to watch the game within a game, pay attention from guard, center, guard. And if we throw Tyler Guyton in there, you're going to get a show because there's going to be a lot of fighting on the inside between these players. But I'm definitely looking forward to this matchup because this is one of those cases of, what is it, the unstoppable force against the unmovable object. One of them has to give because we rely heavily on our run game, and I think the Brown boys can have a major impact on the outcome of this game if they shut the run down. All right, so we got two more matchups to look at. So got another former Cowboy player, Rico Dowdle, in his first revenge game. I'm putting him up against Shamar James, who should get another opportunity to start. For those of you who are joining us who missed the beginning of the show, I talked about how Shamar James had 15 tackles, but none of those tackles were made inside of 8 yards. So that means he was a sure tackler. He just wasn't making timely tackles to stop first downs. Rico Dowdle's coming off a 200-yard game. And according to him, the Cowboys know what they're about to see. They better buckle up. So we'll find out what that means this week. But I'm paying close attention to Rico Dowdle versus Shamar James. Rico Dowdle's a physical inside-the-box runner. Shamar James is not known for being an inside-the-box guy. He's more of a sideline-to-sideline tackler. So let's see if he can fill in the gaps inside the B gaps to make some plays against a very physical runner coming off a 200-yard game. DJ Dog asked a question about Tyler Smith's status. Well, Tyler Smith did. Let me see if he practiced today. Somebody sent me a post earlier about did he practice. Let's see. I'm almost certain he was limited today. Tyler Guyton was limited, I know. I'm trying to find information on Tyler Smith. Yeah. Tyler Smith was limited today. So there's a good chance he could play. And remember, last week, they said Tyler Smith could have played. He was an emergency offensive lineman. So if they needed him, he could have stepped in, but they didn't do it. He has a MCL injury, kind of a inflamed situation. So the best thing for that is to just give him rest. The fact that he was on the field and he was limited today is a good sign. That means the inflammation is going down. That's not one of those injuries that's serious, but you don't want to have it linger throughout the year because it's very painful. But this is going to be a good matchup because we're going to see if Shamar James can really be a true Mike linebacker and hold down the interior of the line. All right, and our last key matchup, we've got another revenge game. Jadeveon Clowney, former Panther, going against former first-round pick Ike Ekwonu. He saw this kid in practice quite a bit. Jadeveon Clowney has been kind of limited the past 2 weeks. Week 3, you normally get your legs up under you. You understand the scheme. If there's any game that Jadeveon Clowney is going to show that he's back is going to be this one. So I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup. All right, so let's go ahead. We've talked about our key matchups. We're at 1 hour, 5 minutes. You guys can hold with us. We'll be done in about another 10 minutes. Next segment is our X Factors. So for those of you who are new to the show, I like to give you first some of the key matchups of some of the big name guys that you know from both teams and give you what I think are going to be the biggest matchups to determine the outcome of the game. The next segment is X Factors. So these are the guys who aren't household names, but I think they're going to have an opportunity to make some major waves with their production. So let's look at a couple of what I consider the X factors in this game. First X factor is James Houston. You saw him last week have a great game against the Jets. His snaps are only increasing, and now he gets to go against a Panthers team who hopefully we can get a big lead on like we did last week. And they have a quarterback who refuses to run the ball, and he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL in Byron Young. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing James Houston have an opportunity to make some big impacts in this game. So another X factor, and Jeff kind of insinuated one of them. So another X factor in this game is definitely going to be Ryan Flournoy. Coming out the big 100+ yard catch game this week. Bryce Young. I don't know why I said Brian. Thank you, Jeff. Bryce Young. So Flournoy coming off another big game again last week. George Pickens played against Sauce Gardner, all-pro corner, followed him around the field. Dak really couldn't look that way a lot, so he had to find someone else to throw to, and Ryan Flournoy turned out to be a beneficiary. You pretty much got the same situation this week. Their number 2 cornerback in Carolina is Mike Jackson, former 5th round pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the name. He was kind of on the bench with us for 3 years. He went to Seattle and had a couple of good years, and now he's in Carolina. So Ryan Flournoy is going to see a lot of Michael Jackson, former University of Miami cornerback. Another guy who plays overly aggressive, so you can definitely take advantage of his aggression against him, kind of like how Flournoy did last week against the Jets corner. So Flournoy has another chance to make a big difference in this game. If any of you are gamblers, if the over-under for Ryan Flournoy is 40 or less, I would bet the over, and I would be willing to bet a significant number on that. The Panthers have a really good linebacker core. They have a really good safety. I almost put their safety as an X factor, but I had some other guys I like more. So I think they're going to be able to kind of keep Ferguson in check. So I think Flournoy has a chance to definitely make an impact this game. I wouldn't be shocked if Flournoy has a touchdown this week. I'll put it like that. Jeff says Wanye Thomas, because if he plays well, allow Wilson to help the run. So we just got a bit of news today. Donovan Wilson did not practice. He's dealing with an injury. Pay attention to the injury report tomorrow. If Donovan Wilson does not practice tomorrow, we may see our first Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell secondary group as a starter. So thank you for bringing it up, Jeff. If you guys like Marquise Bell like I do, this may be the first week we see him get some extended action. The mysterious injury. Yep. The Jerry Jones special. Right in time for Kalen Carson and Siobhan Revel to return. All right, so let's keep going through my X factors. I gave you James Houston. I gave you Ryan Flournoy. My third X factor is a guy that most fans don't know, but I hate we don't have Mendoza here tonight because I'm sure this guy was on his list heavy. Jatavian Sanders is a freak athlete, 6'5" tight end for the Panthers. Super young, former 4th-round pick, played for the University of Texas. I believe he may have been a 4.4 runner. When he plays, he makes explosive plays. Remember what I just said. We're going to have Shamar James in. We're probably going to have some rookie safeties. Jatavian Sanders, he's been hurt the past 2 weeks. The last time he played, let me check his stats. The last time Jatavian Sanders played, he had 7 catches. So the guy has the ability to make plays. So pay attention to Jatavian Sanders in this week's game. Mason Taylor burnt us for some plays. Theo Johnson for the Giants burnt us for some plays. You guys know what Tucker Kraft did with the Packers. This is another athletic tight end. Most people don't know him. And yeah, I think he's going to have some opportunities to make some plays against us this week. So pay attention to Jatavian Sanders for the Panthers. Could be a major X factor in this game. All right, so last segment of the show. So for those of you who've continued to stick with us, appreciate you joining us. You guys, once again, great questions, great comments throughout the show. The last segment of the show is over under, so I'm going to ask you to be interactive one last time. For those of you who are new to the show, over under is a segment where I give you a statistic and you tell me whether or not that player goes over or under that statistic. And the reason I ask these statistics is to just get an idea of how the fan base feels about certain matchups and how you think they'll go. So let's go ahead and jump into over under. So now, my first over under. I just talked about Ryan Flournoy as an X factor. He had 100+ yards last week. This week you get George Pickens with another matchup with J.C. Horn. Over under 50 yards receiving for Ryan Flournoy. Let me know your thoughts. Over under 50 yards receiving Ryan Flournoy. Yeah, he was definitely a freak athlete. Number 1 athlete coming out of college. Great point, DJ Dog. Okay, we got a lot of overs coming in. I'm right there with you guys. Again, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities. The Panthers are a heavy zone team, but they allow J.C. Horn to pattern match. So it's basically like a cover 6, cover 7 scheme where one guy gets to do whatever he wants and everybody else just kind of covers a zone around him. So the fact that they run a heavy zone with Flournoy's explosiveness and ability to catch away from his body, if he's smart enough to be able to find the pockets in the zone, he's going to have some chances to make some big plays. So I'm right there with you, Special Potion and Jeff. I think it's an over as well. All right, my next over under, since we're talking Cowboys receivers, Jonathan Mingo was a full participant in practice this week. To me, that tells me there's a very good chance he plays this week. I think they allow him to play this week so that they can get a chance to determine who's going to be the inactive guy when CeeDee Lamb returns against the Commanders. Because there's no way they can carry 6 wide receivers on this team. Turpin and Lamb are going to be back for Washington. That means 1 or 2 wide receivers is going to be inactive. I think if Mingo is healthy, they have to put him in this week to determine who should be the other wide receiver that's active. it would not make sense for him to be healthy and continue to make him a healthy scratch without seeing what he can do. So I'm expecting Mingo to play this week. 50 total yards receiving between Mingo and Tolbert. Let me know what you guys think. Jeff has under for both of them. Special Potion says I think Tolbert's getting over and Mingo's getting under. I'll be honest. I think it's over. I think Mingo has more than Tolbert. Remember what I said. Mingo is basically Flournoy, except he cannot catch away from his body. But he is able to create separation. He is able to get you some run after catch. This is a zone team. Mingo has been in the league for 3 years. I think he's smart enough to be able to find a pocket in the zone, make a catch, and then get you some yak yards. And then Jeff bringing up the great point. Mingo was a Panther. They gave up on him. He was drafted in the second round. 2 years later, they traded him away for a fourth. This is his first chance to get some payback. I don't think he misses this game, and I think he does make an impact. I don't expect him to be the second best receiver on the field, but I definitely expect him to make a couple of plays to be able to kind of rub it in the team's faces. And if Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams are the type of guys I think they are, they're going to give him some opportunities to make some plays because they're all about competition, and nothing breeds competition better than payback. So I'm expecting over for both of these guys. And Mingo may get over by himself, but I do expect Mingo to make 2 or 3 pretty good plays in this game to get him some good receiving yards. All right, so my next over-under, I talked about Bryce Young earlier. He's top 10 in most sacked quarterbacks, and he only averages 190 yards passing per game, which is bottom 5 in the league. Over under Bryce Young, 175 passing yards. Also remember, they have Rico Dowdle, who they're going to rely on heavily in the run game if he's successful. Over under 175 yards passing for Bryce Young. Also remember, the Cowboys have been getting torched by wide receivers. I don't think we've had a receiver who's had less than 200 yards so far this year. Let me see how many yards Josh Fields had. Not Josh Fields. Justin Fields. Let's see. Last week, Justin Fields had 289 yards passing. So the Cowboys have not had a quarterback with less than 250 yards passing. Over under 175 for Bryce Young. Jeff says over in garbage time. Special Potion has it at under. You know what? I can go either way on this one. Bryce Young does not look good as a passer. When they win, they rely heavily on the running game, whether it's Rico Dowdle or Chuba Hubbard. I can't say push because I hate when people say push. I'm going to continue with history. He has not had over 190 yards so far this year. I think the trend continues. I think he gets below 175. Let me look at his stats so far this year before I lock that in. So, his game so far, 154, 121, 150, 198 against the Dolphins. So he has gotten over 190 one time. I think our defense is better than the Dolphins. I'm still going to go under. I think it's going to be close, but I'm still going under. I think they're going to rely heavily on the running game. No, good question. I was just about to say, Jeff, I think they're going to rely heavily on the running game. I don't think it'll be super effective. I just don't trust them being a accurate passer of the ball. If we get to the point, like in that Jets game, where the defensive ends are able to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback, there's going to be no threat of a run from him. So unlike Justin Fields, they're not going to be afraid of trying to play contain and not giving him any run lanes. They're going to go all out sprinting towards Bryce Young. And I think there's a good chance that we see way more sacks this week than we saw last week. And he's not going to be able to get the ball out to his receivers. So I'm leaning more towards, they shut him down totally. Because if they smell blood in the water, White Cotton's not going to let them let up. And when you look at the defensive linemen they have with the Cowboys, there's not a lot of guys who you can put in and say, okay, this guy's a step down. Because if you take out Houston and you take out Clowney, now you've got Fowler, Donovan Easy, and Sam Williams. So it's not like they're going to be guys coming out the field and guys coming on the field who can't pass rush. They're all going to be headhunting. And I think that's going to lead to bad news for Bryce Young. All right, so as you guys know, my last over-under is always an either or. So last over-under of the game, and I'm pretty sure you all kind of saw this one coming. Who has more rushing yards, Javonte Williams or Rico Dowdle? Rico Dowdle's coming off a 200-yard rushing game against the Dolphins. Rico Dowdle is getting a revenge game against the Cowboys that basically said, we don't think you could be a number one guy. We'd rather bring in somebody from outside to take your spot. And to be honest, Javonte Williams, to me, is a better version of Rico Dowdle. I think Williams is better as a pass catcher, and I also think he's more explosive. So, who has more rushing yards this week, Javonte Williams or Rico Dowdle? Special potion coming in with Javonte Williams. Let's see if anybody else joins us. Jeff says Williams easy. I see we got Hard Hitter joining us late in the show. Hard Hitter, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you come back and join us again on a later episode. I see you're watching from the DC4L group, so thank you for joining us from there. Jeff saying Rico not running nowhere near 200. I agree. So let me ask this follow-up question while you guys are here. Does either guy get 100 yards? Is it either, both, neither? What do you guys think? Mind you, the Panthers have a top 10 run defense with the Brown boys in the middle. So they're not giving up 100 often. Jeff coming in with an early bold prediction. We will have a pregame show this week, so we will be doing bold predictions. Hard Hitter say, I followed you. I'm locked in. Appreciate you joining us, Hard Hitter. If you get a chance, go over to YouTube. Find me at Bluff City Cowboys. Hit that subscribe button as well. I definitely appreciate all your support. Special Potion says, I think they both getting at least 100. Jeff said Williams getting 100 running on the edges. I would be shocked if they both don't get 100, to be honest. I still got to see Shamar James as an interior linebacker. I still have question marks on whether or not Shamar James can play inside the box and be a true Mike linebacker. I mean, I know Kenneth Murray makes some bad angles, but he's a good inside the box linebacker. Leah found the same. If Shamar James is your starting middle linebacker, I got to see it this week. This is a chance to solidify himself for the next 5 weeks as a major rotation piece. So I got to see it. Personally, I think Rico may be too physical of a running back for him. and he may not have the best game. And that's why I think Rico gets more than 100. But you got to play it on the field. So we'll definitely see this week if Shamar James has the right stuff to slow Rico Dowdle down. All right, guys, we are at an hour and 26 minutes. The views stayed pretty consistent. So thank you guys for joining us from YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Once again, those of you joining us from X, one of these days, I need you guys to come over to Facebook or YouTube so that I can get you in these comments. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I always appreciate the dialogue. You guys have become like a second family to me. I always love talking and connecting with Cowboys fans. And for those of you joining for the first time, make sure that you join us every Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Hopefully next week we'll be celebrating a Victory Wednesday. Next week is also a rivalry game. We'll be playing the Washington Commanders. So when we have every rivalry game, we will be joined by the creator and co-owner of the DC4L Facebook group, Miss Amanda Foster. She'll be giving us her input on the games, and she will be giving away prizes. So far, we've played the Eagles and the Giants, and we've given away 2 Overshown jerseys as well as several autographed photos. So you're going to get a great prize if you come back and join us next Wednesday at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I work for the government, so we're shut down right now. So if I get too bored, you guys may see me a couple more times between now and next week, but you will definitely see me next Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Thank you guys for joining. As always, appreciate all your support, all your questions, all your comments. Appreciate you taking an hour and a half out of your time to hear me talk Cowboys football. So I can't thank you guys enough for all your support. And as always, let's go Cowboys. I will see you guys this Sunday for our pregame show at 11:15. And if you can't catch me then, I'll see you next week for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Have a good night.